I want to go through it, if I may. You've got it in your bulletin, so follow along. And just kind of think about what this passage means. So the Syrophoenician woman's faith. So this is a story that would have taken place in what we would present day call Syria. So it's not in the heartland of Israel. It's a story of when Jesus was around the outskirts. And so it says from there he set off and he went away to the region of Tyre. He entered a house, and he did not want anyone to know that he was there. Now, I didn't recognize that. Why do you think he was hiding? Why do you think he didn't want anyone to know that he had entered that house? There's been a couple of possibilities suggested. One, that he was in hiding, and this was a Jewish household where he just didn't want people to know he was there, kind of low-key. The other is that in this region of Tyre, however you say it, where there are more Gentiles than Jews, that in fact the house he entered was a Gentile's house. And he went there under cloak because he didn't want people to know that he, a good Jewish rabbi, was in fact entering and staying at a Gentile home. Yet he could not escape notice. But a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. I want you to just think about that. This woman has a little daughter, and anybody who's been a parent know you would do anything to help your kids when they're sick. This woman, who's a Gentile of Syrophoenician origins, well, when she burst into that house, if it was a Jewish household, then there she was, a Gentile, breaking every rule and bursting into a Jewish household. If it was a Gentile household, then she is blowing Jesus' cover, and she's making it very public that he's doing what in his culture he should not do. But she pushes her way in. And this is one of the stories where Jesus doesn't come off looking so good. The woman was a Gentile of Syrophoenician origin, and she begged Jesus to cast the demon out of her daughter. And he said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it's not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." Now, this is the place where Jesus doesn't come across very well. Because in the culture in which he lived, foreigners were called dogs. It was an insult. And so Jesus in this passage shows himself to be a person of his culture. Or else, is he just giving the answer that would be expected of someone in his culture? Whatever it is, he's just insulted her. But she doesn't rise to the insult. She keeps her eye on the goal, and she speaks back to him. But she answered him, "Sir, even the dogs under the table, eat the children's crumbs." In fact, she's saying, even the foreigners should get what's left over from the select or the elect group. She speaks back. She makes her case. She speaks boldly. She speaks in a way that normally would not be tolerated in her culture. And Jesus, bless his heart, recognizes that in this little argument, his insensitivity has been shown up. He's been bested in the argument. And with grace he says, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." And so she went home and found the child lying on the bed and the demon gone. This scripture story is a story of Jesus exposing himself to someone from a different culture, a different background, a different context. And instead of getting into an argument with her, he recognizes that she has a lesson to teach him. She has a perspective to bring to him that will add to his ministry and will affect him in all his actions henceforth. When we say we're a progressive church, we mean that we don't think we have all the answers. We're not a creedal church, like we don't have big creeds, and often don't say the historic creeds, which lay out the beliefs that are supposedly in existence. And we don't do that because we think in each new day and in each new situation, there are different voices to be heard. And our faith is not set and unchangeable. But in fact, as people bring new situations and new contexts, we are open to hear. a different point of view, a different understanding. So we are a church that thrives on dialogue. We're in the family of churches, and those who've done church history will know this better than I, but we're in the family of churches that are called Protestants. And we're called Protestants because from the time that name was given to us as a derogatory term, it was a term for people who protested against the easy answer, against the set belief, who protested, hey, there is another way of thinking about this situation. Hey, this answer may fit for us, but it does not fit for a person in a different situation.
You're talking in oracles.
I'm talking in oracles. You don't understand me? Okay. So, in our contemporary situation, we're in this time of climate change, of mass migration of people. We're in a time of kind of spiritual yearning for certainty. But what we have to offer is not an answer, but we have perhaps a process. It was on our Facebook page that there are some youth who have made some good proposals about climate change. They're taking some real risks and doing some very innovative things. What the Facebook page said was, let's learn from the young people. Let's follow their lead, because this is the world they will inherit. And their investment in the solutions is in many ways greater than ours. That's quite a countercultural way to think, because actually in many cultures it's seen that the elders are the smart ones who have gained wisdom. But in a progressive church, we hear the voices of the protests of the young people, and we say, you know, they have a point of view. If I live another 25, 30 years, I'm doing great. But somebody who's 20 is looking forward to another 70 years. And so as a progressive church, we listen for the voices that speak about a different kind of experience and from a different context, a different viewpoint. It is the reason that in the United Church we were so far ahead of several other churches, most other churches, in the acceptance of gay and lesbian people. Because it's in our DNA to listen to the voice of those who protest there is another way of seeing. I remember Sang-Chul Lee, who was elected in 1988 as the moderator of the United Church, and he was elected because he was so outside the issue of the acceptance of gay and lesbian people. He was the first Korean moderator we had ever had. He believed that he didn't know anything about the issue of sexual orientation. But he said, "My door is open. Come and tell me your stories." That is the statement of a progressive church. We don't know the answers. Come and tell us your stories. And in the process of doing that, we, like Sang-Chul Lee, will be converted because we will hear from a different viewpoint. I know. Right. I have to stop or else everybody's going to be crying like that. We follow a pattern of Jesus that says we will not always get it right. But if we listen to the alternative voices and be discerning about those, we need to be able to be taught, to be open to change our mind, and to understand different viewpoints. Well, you can apply that, oracle or not, to the situations in which you find yourself. But I want to encourage us all to be a kind of community where when we see something that we've always done it that way, that we say to other people, newcomers perhaps, people from our intercultural ministry, hey, how would you do this? And be willing to hear, because that's what makes us a progressive church. Thank you for listening.